On this week's edition of the Stony Brook News,
we say goodbye to the Dean of the School of Journalism.
We travel back in time with the Charles Dickens Festival.
And we get a taste of a drink that is all the rage on campus.
All that and more on this week's edition of the Stony Brook News.
Good afternoon, and welcome to this semester's last edition of the Stony Brook News. I'm Dorothy Mai.
And I'm Elisa Cosme. There will be a moment of silence held during Wednesday's men's basketball game for 18-year-old Noah Farley, a beloved Stony Brook student who passed away on December 6th after being struck by a car crossing Nichols Road. Farley was on the Stony Brook cross-country team. Fellow teammate Nick Capola told the Stony Brook News, Noah was someone who loved everyone and everyone loved him. He was a great kid who was always happy and made everyone smile. His life was unfortunately cut short, but we're going to do everything we can to honor that life.
We here at the School of Journalism are preparing to say goodbye to Dean Howard Schneider, who is stepping down after 12 years. Our reporter Jordan Boyd looks into the impact he's had during his time here.
America has its founding fathers, and the Stony Brook School of Journalism has its own Dean Howard Schneider, retiring at the end of this semester and leaving behind his crown jewel.
I'm most proud of creating the school. We are the only school of journalism in the SUNY system.
Howard Schneider established the J School in 2006 after leaving an editorial position at Newsday.
Well, he really did a Herculean job of launching a school from scratch, which is pretty amazing in this day and age.
Over the past 12 years, Dean Schneider has crafted the school's journalism curriculum into what it is today by introducing new facilities, professors, and tons of classes. He also brought about the My Life as Speaker series, where notable journalists from across the country come to our campus to talk about their struggles and successes as journalists.
There had been previous attempts to get a school started here, several. None of them had come to fruition, but his enthusiasm, his vision, and his personality made it happen, and I think the university owes him a real debt of gratitude for that.
Once Dean Schneider leaves his current position, he'll be shifting his focus towards an issue that's close to his heart. Teaching news literacy across the country. News literacy is the ability to distinguish real news from fake.
So my short-term goal will be to try to bring news literacy to the public schools in New York City and on Long Island, beginning with a program to teach middle school students how to be much smarter about the information choices and the news choices they make.
While we've had some cold weather lately, that hasn't been the case for the rest of the world this year. Our reporter Colin Connectel investigated the ongoing plans to mitigate global warming and the potential risks if we don't.
The world is changing. For decades, science has had a consensus that the Earth was warming at a rate much greater than would be expected naturally. After experiencing one of the hottest years ever recorded, nations from all over the world met in Paris in 2015 to organize a response to global warming. Commonly called the Paris Agreement, every nation in the world except the U.S. has signed on since the end of 2017.
Paris Accord is essentially this big international agreement to try and get these different countries to promise to reduce their carbon emissions.
The ongoing 24th Climate Change Conference in Poland is a follow-up to the original agreement and will last until December 14th. Despite the near universal concern about climate change, actually developing a plan is very paradoxical.
Like, every country is better off if we stop climate change. Like, the world is going to be a better place if that happens. But every country individually is also better off if they don't do anything about it.
Whether he's making America first or doesn't believe the science, as some say, President Trump was fast to withdraw from the agreement after being elected.
And so if we just, if we're the United States, we do the best if everybody else just stops climate change for us. And so these agreements and these negotiations are essentially a way to try and build these institutions between countries where we all commit to do something.
The goal put in place by the Paris Agreement is to keep the Earth's global temperature rise below 2 degrees centigrade by 2050. As global average temperatures rise, many places in the world will become less suitable for human life.
We know that above around 2 degrees, certain things like droughts will become particularly more prevalent. Heat waves could impact. We've already started to see changes in hurricanes and intensity and rainfall. And so the idea is that those things will just continue to get worse without any mitigation impacts.
coastal communities such as those here on Long Island will be at exceptional risk. To avoid the worst of the damage, changes will need to be made soon. From Stony Brook News, I'm Colin Knechtel.
Dorothy, what are you doing?
It's really cold in here.
Well, our weather reporter, Darlene Tatel, can tell you if you're going to need those earmuffs outside, too. Darlene?
Thanks, Eliza. Wow, I wish I had those earmuffs right now. The sun's out, but don't be fooled. It is really cold. Looking at our current temperatures, we have a solid 34 degrees and a wind speed of 14 miles per hour. So it's pretty cold right now. However, things will warm up to about 39 degrees this afternoon and then drop back down to the low 20s tonight. Looking at our 7-day forecast, we'll see that temperatures will remain under 40 degrees until Thursday, which they'll be warming up to 50 degrees on Friday and Saturday. However, those warm temperatures will come with a bit of rain, so make sure you grab your umbrella for the end of the week, and good luck on your finals. Back to you guys.
Thanks, Darlene. There are a couple of quotes from Charles Dickens everyone knows, like bah humbug. Let's see what we can learn from the Dickens 21st Century Impersonators at the 23rd Annual Charles Dickens Festival in Port Jefferson. Our reporter, Meng Yuan, tells us the story of the man who brought us some of our favorite holiday tales.
It is only 15 days until Christmas. Port Jefferson has decorated itself a Victorian-era London style. Hundreds of characters are strolling the street as part of the 23rd Annual Charles Dickens Festival.
I'm Mr. Brownlow in the Adventures of Oliver Twist. All the wonderful books that Mr. Dickens wrote. They're so exciting and great. And of course, you know, he is the man that invented Christmas, you know.
Dressing up in Dickensian costumes is the main part of the celebration. But to be a real character out of a novel by Buzz, that's Dickens' nickname, you need to know how to speak with a British accent.
You have to have like some type of an accent. If I talked regularly, you wouldn't understand me. It's part of the show, my dear. It's part of the show.
Charles Dickens dominated the 19th century literary scene, and his characters from novels such as Oliver Twist, A Christmas Carol, and A Tale of Two Cities inspired Port Jeff once British colonial town's tradition.
We just felt that there's enough characters, enough history, enough color, and enough season cheer to do a Dickens festival.
Port Jefferson is often considered as a great tourist attraction in the summer, but in winter, Port Jeff is usually the opposite. Unlike the typical quiet winter, the streets are packed and the visitors are everywhere.
A friend of mine grew up in Long Island, and she told me about the Dickens weekend, and so we wanted to see the Santa's Workshop and all the characters, the Christmas Carol and all of that. I love that whole, the air and all the costuming, and so I thought it would be a really fun weekend to take the ferry over from Connecticut.
From colorful costumes, music, and horse carriage, you will find out the magic of going back to old London in 1850s. But if you are not Dickens fan, how will you celebrate Christmas? For Stony Brook News, I'm Meng Yuan.
This week saw mixed results for Stony Brook athletics. Let's check in with our sports reporter, Nick Musumeci. Nick?
Thanks, guys. Let's jump right into the highlights. Stony Brook taking on Brown, and it was Tamanang Cho who stole the show for the Bears. He put up 20 points, including this three-pointer here, to go along with 12 rebounds. Here's Cho again, driving to the rim and laying this one in nicely. Stony Brook would fall in this one, 71-69, but they still have the best record in their conference. The women's team also owns the best record in their conference, as they picked up wins against Sacred Heart and Farley Dickinson this week. They're now 8-1 and atop the America East, while point guard Shorty Johnson leads all of college basketball, men's and women's, in assists. Now on to the top 5 plays of the week. We start in the NHL with the Maple Leafs on the road at the Sabres. Austin Matthews is going to jump into the air and wrap this one around for the goal. Let's take another look. Matthews getting airborne and putting it back down on the ice. Nicely done. Number 4, Giants at the Redskins. Giants already up 10-0 when running back Saquon Barkley finds a hole and, well, he's off to the races. Takes this one 78 yards to the house. Long touchdown run there. He's now over 1,000 yards on the season. A Giants rookie record. What a season Barkley's had. Now from one rookie to another, this time in the NHL, it's Elias Pettersson, and he's on a penalty shot here against Pecorine. Look at that stick handling. Just slides it past for the goal. Let's take another look. Nicely done there by Pedersen, getting it past Rene. Canucks win that one 5-3. Now to college hoops for number 2, and this is Pittsburg State down, and it's Grant Lazoya hoisting this one up for the buzzer-beating half-court shot. Pittsburg State just pandemonium there with a huge dramatic win. And then another dramatic win here going to the Dolphins at the Patriots, or the Dolphins home against the Patriots rather, but it's Ryan Tannehill dropping back to pass, and this play just really isn't going anywhere, is it? Is it? That's Kenyon Drake with the ball in his hands now, weaving his way through the Patriots defense. Rob Gronkowski, the only man to beat, gets past him for the buzzer-beating touchdown as time expires. What a win there. Dramatic one for the Dolphins as they stun the Patriots. That's all I've got for sports, guys. Back to you.
Eliza, have you ever tried bubble tea?
Yeah, well, I actually grew up in Flushing, Queens, so I used to have it all the time.
Well, you don't have to go all the way to Flushing for bubble tea anymore. There are bubble tea spots on campus to get it. Our reporter Diamond Bridges looked into the increase of the popular drink on campus.
The popularity of boba tea, also known as bubble tea, has been on a rise in America. But what is boba tea? Where did it come from? And why is it so popular? The Taiwanese Student Association and the Asian Student Alliance partner up to host a boba bar. They provide some historical context, played games, and most importantly, served some boba tea.
There's usually a huge variety of teas that you can mix different toppings with. So not only is there boba for toppings, there's like red bean, mung bean, lychee jelly, all kinds of different stuff.
Boba tea got its start in the early 1980s in Taiwan. Certain tea stands would add fruit flavorings to their teas, which added a sweet and unique taste. Because of the flavoring, the teas needed to be shaken well, which formed bubbles at the top. This is where the name bubble tea originated. The process of making boba tea consists of boiling tapioca pearls, then adding a tea base with ice and milk. As the beverage became more popular in Asia, it's also not too hard to find them in New York City or even Stony Brook campus.
I had some Asian friends, like we were in the city together, and me being a fan of Asian culture, they're like, wait, you've never had boba? You've never had bubble tea? What? No, we're fixing this right now. So we went and got bubble tea together, and since then it's been one of my favorite drinks.
Jasmine, inside of the Wong Center, has been the only place on campus that offers this delicious sweet treat. But recently there has been some competition. Students line up in the cold in front of the truck stationed between the library and Eastside Dining. Cha Time provides authentic Chinese drinks that allows the customer to choose between having boba tea or a different variety of refreshing drinks.
You know, we have to drive all the way to Queens, you know, when we have weekends, you know, to have those. Not many people have access to cars. So then, you know, during the time I was graduating, I figured, you know, why not just start a business like, you know, around here.
You won't have to travel all the way to Taiwan to try this delicious drink. They come in multiple flavors from matcha, green tea, or mango. This reporter is going to take a sip. That's really good. For Stony Brook News, I'm Diamond Bridges.
Now I'm craving some bubble tea.
Me too. Well, that's all we have for our last edition of the Stony Brook News. Thanks for watching. I'm Eliza Cosme.
And I'm Dorothy Mai. Have a great day and good luck on finals, Seawolves.